Alright, hello. I am Grimm's Lawyer. Welcome to Yesterlore. This is Yesterlore number 6, I believe. I might be off. The correct number will be present when this is uploaded onto YouTube. But in any case, this is Yesterlore, and today we're going to be doing a couple more Greek riddles. I have prepared 2 more riddles from the Greek Anthology, which we talked about last time in Yesterlore. I'm going to read the Greek in a 6th century-ish Byzantine pronunciation, because that's the time period when this is probably written down, at least recorded earliest. The copies we have are from much later, the Byzantine period. However, the language used, the grammar, etc., is Homeric Greek. It's epic Greek from much, much, much earlier. But I thought it would be fun to do a early Byzantine pronunciations because you'll see a lot of people trying to do epic Greek pronunciation. Now, I am noticing that the fireplace keeps freezing. I don't know why that keeps happening. Last time it was frozen for the majority of the stream and I didn't notice. But now I'm keeping my eye on it and I'm noticing that it's turning itself off for some reason. That's not super fun, but yeah, it's stopping. It's continuously stopping. I don't know if this has always been a problem or what, but maybe I just didn't notice, but that's unfortunate that that's happening. So I'm not quite sure what to do about that right now. We might just end up having a frozen fireplace for the majority of this stream because I don't want to stop the stream just to fix the fireplace. But I'll try to figure that out before the next stream. Before we start with the Greek riddles, I wanted to actually start with some channel/stream updates. The first one is that, and I mentioned this last time I did a stream, which was in the Townscaper stream, which was on Twitch. It will probably not be uploaded to YouTube, unless people want to watch that back. I doubt it. I just talked while playing Townscaper. I plan on doing that some more in the future, though, if you do want to catch me doing that. I mentioned some things that I wanted to change about the channel, just because of life changes that have happened recently, and schedule changes, and also motivation, which is a very fickle thing. I want to be able to keep streaming regularly, but I realized if I'm going to do that, I'm going to need to streamline what I stream to keep it down to the things that I'm most interested in. Also, I just realized that there's something off with my lighting right now, and I want to try to fix that. Okay, I think that's better. Slightly. Okay. So if I'm going to keep streaming, I want to focus on the things that I enjoy streaming the most. Oh, whoa. That was a mistake. And also, the point that we came to with the last conlang with me was probably as far as I could get in terms of things that would be fun to show in a stream. I did have some ideas for continuing streams with that, and I may return to do more streams about the conlang we were working on, or at least just a showcase of what the results were with the conlang that we made in the streams. I say we, I mean I, and you just watched me if you were there. But it's not going to make very interesting content that's watchable because it involves a lot of me checking dictionaries in all of the donor languages that we have for that language, trying to fill in vocabulary, and that's not super fun. even though I had some ideas for some stuff I wanted to show, I thought about it more, and it's probably not going to be super fun. That doesn't mean I'm going to stop streaming conlang content in general. I will probably, like I said, come back and do a showcase of that language where it's at in the future. And I do plan on doing some other conlang projects. I would really like to do one that's like sort of collaboratively made on stream. I think that would be fun. But I've decided that moving forward, I think I'm going to stick to doing weekly yesterlore, or trying to do weekly yesterlore. It kind of simplifies things to keep doing that. It's what I enjoy doing the most on this channel, and it also makes it easier just on Twitch, because otherwise I have to change the schedule every week, even if the stream is at the same time, because it's a different category of stream. Twitch doesn't let you alternate weeks on your schedule, so it just makes everything easier. I enjoy yesterlore the most. More people show up for the yesterlore streams than for the conlang with me streams, so it just feels like that's what I should focus on for the most part, and every once in a while we could do some conlang stuff. I might start some other series if I have time, but for now I think just the main series being yesterlore, with some occasional conlang spin-offs that outside of that normal time, and some gaming stuff that I plan on doing as well on the stream. I think that's the way to go for the future. So with that being said, we are going to finish these 2 riddles this week, these Greek Anthology riddles, and then we're going to next week do something in Old Norse. I'm not quite sure exactly what text. I'm between a few, but there is a text in Old Norse that I want to look at, because we haven't really done any Old Norse on this channel yet. And then after that, we're going to go back to some Old English stuff. Specifically, what I would like to look at are the Anglo-Saxon rune poems, or really the rune poem with poems for each rune. And I want to talk about the rune poems and read them. I think that would be fun. I'm also, I have a few other ideas, like sort of set in the future after that. But what order I do them in is still kind of up in the air, and which particular text I do is up in the air. And I'm also open to suggestions. The conceit of yesterlore so far has just been looking at ancient and medieval texts and doing something interesting with them. Like, for example, solving riddles. And I try to make it as interactive as possible. We've had some less interactive sessions so far. Apart from the riddles, we've done, a lot of other things besides riddles recently. But I want to do some things apart from riddles that are also interactive. So if anyone has ideas for sort of ancient or medieval stuff that they think would be fun and interactive to watch and engage in, I will see what I can do. I am not able to read every language. That's not even close to true. But even if it's a language I'm not super familiar with, I'm willing to try to look at it and maybe talk about what we can learn together, because I think that's also fun. So I'm very open to suggestions. There are ways to contact me in my Twitch bio and also on YouTube. At least there's one way to contact me there. I'm going to try to add another way to contact me as well, if the one that is there does not work out for people. But I'm very open to suggestions. Also, if you're here and you have suggestions right now, feel free to type them in chat. So, again, with all that being said, let's go ahead and get started with these riddles. So let's return to what even is this text? What are we looking at? We are looking at part of a document called the Greek Anthology, specifically the Palatine Anthology. And this is a collection of ancient Greek texts that was put together during the Byzantine period. And what is interesting about it is that it's the form of a lot of the language looks like it is Homeric, like it's very, very, very old Greek. But the earliest recording of at least this section of the anthology that has the riddles and math problems are attributed to a grammarian from probably the 6th century, so like the 500s in the Byzantine Empire, named Mητρόδωρος. Metrodorus is how some people anglicize that. And he put these things together to just have them recorded. They probably existed before. Again, given the language that's used, it's probably very, 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 very ancient Greek. But he probably had some other text or was taught them and recorded them for us, thankfully. And then that was, again, copied later, and we have those copies from later. But it's attributed to this guy, Mητρόδωρος. And it's mostly math problems in this section of the Greek Anthology. But interspersed with the math problems are what are called enigmata, or riddles. Now, an enigma is a riddle, and that's where we get the word enigma from. Enigma comes from that same word. So, last time we looked at problem number 5, which was a riddle, problem 19, which is a riddle, and problem 22. Today we're going to look at 26 and 35. There are more, but these are just the ones I was able to prepare for today. Just looking at some of the difficulties in the text. There are some weird words because, like I said, this is very, very, very ancient Greek, and so there are some deviations from like the standard Greek that most people learn to read in school and just in general when they study Greek. And it's very, very, very different from modern Greek. So I wanted to be prepared for this session. So let's see what we can read and try to guess the answer to these riddles. All right. Sorry, I just need to check something real quick. Okay. So the first of the 2 riddles that we're looking at, this is 26, and like I mentioned last time, ancient Greek did not use, they didn't have separate numeral characters. What they did was they used, and still use in some places, the letters of the Greek alphabet to represent numbers. And so here what we see is kappa represents 20, and this is digamma. Digamma represents 6. This technically is stigma, but it's the same as digamma. Oh, hello. I see in the chat someone has come for riddles. This is the right place. You're not in the wrong room here. Yeah, we're actually just starting with the first riddle, so great timing. So this is riddle 26, and we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to read the first sentence in early Byzantine pronunciation to the best of my ability. So we have Xanthi mentis Aegon imin paros alla kopisa ginome argenis lechkoteri hionos. Xanthi mentis Aegon imin paros alla kopisa ginome argenis lechkoteri hionos. And let's go word by word now. So xanthi is the color yellow. Xanthi. And I know that there are English words that come from this root, but all of them are escaping me right now. So sorry that I don't actually remember the English words that come from this. Actually, let me see if I can look them up real quick, because I know that we have words that come from this root. But while I'm looking that, so xanthi is yellow. Now the word that comes after it is men. And I think we had men earlier on at least one of the earlier riddles. I might be wrong. But men is an interesting particle. It is used to mean sort of and or but to start a phrase. Kind of like they is that we've seen before. We've seen lots of they. They can never be the first word in a phrase, but it means and it introduces a new phrase. So it's like you have your first word of your phrase, and then you go back and say and or but. But men often means but. like however, or although, but it kind of is sort of semantically weak. It doesn't have a lot of its own meaning. It kind of gets the meaning from around words around it. And it can also mean while. It has very wide use, or like sort of range of possible meanings. So we're going to actually have to read more before we can confidently interpret men here. Now, the next word is tis. And tis here does not have an accent. When tis has an accent, it usually means who, as a question. But tis without an accent is what's called an indefinite pronoun, sort of like anyone or someone or something. So again, we're going to have to wait to get more context to figure out what tis is going to mean here. Then we have this word Aegon, which is an epic ancient Greek variant of ego, which means I. So it's the pronoun I. Sorry, I'm still looking for possible derivations of xanthi. There is at least one ancient Greek character named Xanthi. That's how it's pronounced in English. But that doesn't really help us with English words. I know that xantho is a prefix in some contexts, like in chemistry, I think. I think there's something called xanthic acid, but I need to confirm that. Xanthate, xanthamide. I'm not a chemist, but apparently xanthic acid does exist. It's any of a class of organic sulfur-containing acids of the general formula ROCS2H. Oh, xanthan gum. Wow. Why didn't I think of that? See, that's what was in the back of my head, probably. Yeah, xanthan gum. Thank you. Yeah, xanthan gum, I would be very surprised to find is not related. Xanthum is just... So this word is borrowed into Latin, xanthus, and xanthus, the sort of neuter form is xanthum. Yeah, xanthus, yellow, Latin from the ancient Greek xanthos. Xanthi is just the feminine form, and it was occasionally a name, probably to refer to people who had blonde hair. That would make sense. But yeah, and I think Xanthus is also a character somewhere in mythology. But in any case, so far we've got yellow, a word that relies a lot on context, but it might be like while, and then we have an indefinite pronoun, someone or something. Then we have I. Then our next word is imin, and this is the past tense, first person singular. Now I'm calling it past tense. It's actually Greek has a lot of different past tenses, but I'm trying to simplify here. Basically, it means I was, imin. And then we have paros, before. And then we have Allah. And Allah means but. So this now, I think, is giving us context that we can use to go back to men tis. I think what's going on here is we have something like while there was some time before that I was yellow. So once I was yellow, once upon a time, or once, at one point I was yellow, but, and then we have kopisa. Kopisa means, basically it's a participle, it means having been cut. Having been cut. Okay, so once I was yellow before, but having been cut. Ginome. Ginome means I become. Okay, so ginome argenis. Argenis means it's a form of the word white, the color white. So I become, now, this is in the form of white that we'd expect if it were saying I become white. It's in the genitive singular, which doesn't make sense on its own here. It's like of white. But when I look at the next word, I see that there's a comparative here. Now, this word here is lefkoteri. Lefkoteri means lighter. Lefkos is light. I think it's in some scientific names for things. L-E-C, and then there's usually some more parts of a word. Leuco, something. It shows up in some scientific names of animals sometimes. Like I think Leucocephalus is the genus, or no, it's the species of eagle that a bald eagle is. I don't know why I remember that, but it's because it has a white head. Leucocephalus. So it's that same root. Lefkoteri is lighter, and this is actually in the case that we'd expect for ginome. So I become lighter, and then we have a genitive for the color white. Argenis is one word for white. And then this word here is also genitive, hionos. Hionos means snow, and it's also genitive. So white describes snow because they match in case. So I become lighter than white snow. So the genitive now makes sense. You can use it for comparisons when you have a comparative word here. I become lighter than white snow. So let's go over what we have so far. Once I was yellow, but having been cut, I become whiter than light snow. Or lighter than white snow, I should say. Okay. Next sentence. Let me start with reading this in Greek. So the next two lines are a sentence. So we've got hero de glikero teke ichthyoenti loetro proti de timonon es choron erchomeni. Hero de I should be scrolling over this as I say it, huh? Hero de glikero teke ichthyoenti loetro proti de timonon es choron erchomeni. So let's start here. Hero. Hero means, well, it means a lot of things. It's the same verb that's used for hello in ancient and modern Greek, actually. You could say here or herete if you're talking to a group, or I think modern Greek has TV distinction, so it can be like formal too to say herete. Herete means hello, but really it's sort of like hail, may you be well, that kind of thing. Now, hero as a verb can mean to be glad, to rejoice, to celebrate, and it's in the first person singular, so it's I rejoice or I celebrate. However, I can kind of already see that there's a dative here, a dative case, and dative with hero can mean something more like enjoy, like use or enjoy. You delight in something, you enjoy it. So I'm going to say that this might be enjoy, just because I see a dative case here. And then we have our word they, and they, I talked about this last time, it means and or but. It's another sort of weak, in terms of meaning, word that links sentences together. So it's kind of like starting your sentence with and or then. So I enjoy, and I enjoy, and then we have our words in the dative. So glikero is the dative singular of, I think it's glukeros, means something that's sweet, or having sweetness. And this gluk part of this word, it is the origin of words like glucose as well as glyce, like the glyce root in glycerin or glycemic. So a lot of the English derivatives still mean like having to do with sweetness or sugar or something. So I enjoy sweet, something sweet. Okay. Teke. So te means and. Ke also means and. And sometimes teke just mean and. They don't really translate as separate words, they kind of translate together. Sometimes there's a word between te and ke, and it means like both this and that. But I think what's going on here is because this is in meter, these math problems and riddles are written in epic poetry form, or it's more like lyric poetry actually, because it alternates between dactylic hexameter and dactylic pentameter. So it's more like lyric poetry, I should say, or elegiac poetry. Because it's in poetry, I think whoever composed this just needed an extra syllable. So they just put like a really weak word for and put it next to another word for and. And that's fine. So I enjoy sweet, something sweet, and also, and then we have ichthyoenti. And this is interesting. So we also have a derivative for this word too. The root ichthyo in English usually has to do with fish. And that's because ichthyos means fish, or ichthys, sorry, means fish in ancient Greek. Ichthys, fish. So, like, ichthyology is the study of fish, for example. Ichthyoenti, though, means something, like it's an adjective, it's also in the dative case, and it means full of fish, or fishy. So I enjoy sweet and fishy something. Okay, what's the something? Well, here is another word in the dative. Loetro. And loetros is a bath. So that would make sense. I enjoy a sweet and also fishy bath. So once I was yellow, but having been cut, I become lighter than white snow. I enjoy a sweet and fishy bath. Okay. Then we've got proti. Proti means first. And there is another word that agrees with proti here. And it's erchomeni. And erchomeni means, it's a participle meaning like coming in, or just coming. I know it's in because I see s here, which is into. So first, coming in first is the subject here. Coming in first. And then we have a couple difficult words here. So actually, this is probably the only difficult word here. Es choron means into, and then es means into, and then choron. This is actually the origin of the word chorus in English. It goes from Greek to Latin to French to English. But the word chorus is the Latin form, so it's like straight from Latin to English. Choir is sort of the intermediary through French. But in any case, choron, or choros is the nominative. This is accusative because it's into it. Choron, it can mean a chorus that's singing or a group that's dancing, like a ring of dancers or something. But it can also be generalized, just meaning any kind of group. Any kind of group can be referred to as choros. So, coming first into the group. Sorry, Seamus is the dog. Seamus was just scratching at the floor. So, I'm just petting him right now. Seamus cameo, yeah. He doesn't like to come up onto the chair. We've tried that before. Well, he likes to, he wants to, but as soon as he comes up, he wants down immediately, so he always regrets it. So anyway, coming first into the group, or the choir, could be the choir, who knows, the chorus, the band, all of those are appropriate translations for choron here. And then we have what looks like a dative plural, or maybe a genitive plural to me. I think it's dative plural masculine. This word here is, I wasn't able to recognize it at first. What it looks like, though, is it definitely looks like it's related to the word zetos, which means a banquet or a feast. Alright, sorry about that. So, this or thetos, thetos means banquet or a feast. And it's also related to the verb, it looks like it's related to the verb at least, denumi, which means to give a feast, or to feast, or to have a feast. However, this T being here makes me think it's a noun, like a verbal noun, at least originally, that comes from denumi, to feast. And this suffix here is making me think it's like passive in some way. So, ones who are feasted or something like that. So what I'm going to do, I actually wasn't able to find this in any of my dictionaries that I typically use when translating Greek. But I'm going to put it into, I have a copy of, or like a sort of way to access Elliniki Morphologicus Dictis, which is a morphological index, and I think it might be there. It's the only one I haven't checked yet, and I didn't have time to check before. I was still kind of puzzling over this word. But my guess is that it's going to be some kind of noun that is passive in some way, that's related to banquet or feast. Oh, they do have it. Sweet. Okay. I'm not I'm not sharing this window though where I have my dictionary, so I realize you can't see it. Okay, they do have it. Vetumon, one who is entertained. Okay, I was pretty close. Entertained at a feast, probably. It's definitely got to be related to vetos. Vetos is the genitive of this, feast or banquet. Okay, so let's put this all together then. We have coming first into the group. Was that right? It is genitive. Okay, that was my first guess. Genitive plural. So coming first into the group of the entertained ones. Okay. And that's the end of our riddle. So let's go back over it and see if we could figure out what it is. Once I was yellow before, but having been cut, I become lighter than white snow. So something that starts off yellow, but then is cut and processed in some way to turn it into something that's white. I enjoy the sweet and fishy bath. Okay. Coming first into the group of people being entertained, or the choir, or the chorus of people being probably group, because it's usually not the entertainees who are providing the music or dancing. I mean, they might be dancing, but it's probably just group. So something that starts off yellow is cut and processed and becomes something that's white. It's used, I think maybe this sweet and fishy part is probably the hardest thing, but bath is relevant here. It enjoys a bath, and it's the first thing you bring, or it comes first to groups who are being entertained, or groups at a banquet. It's the first thing you bring them. So, does anyone in chat have an idea or need me to go over the translation one more time? One more time. Okay, cool. So, once I was yellow, but having been cut, I become lighter than white snow. I also enjoy a sweet and fishy bath, coming first into the group of those being entertained at a feast. So it starts off yellow, it's cut, processed, becomes white. It enjoys a bath that is, I guess, sweet and fishy, but I don't think that part's super important. At least from a modern perspective, that would maybe make it more confusing. The bath is probably the most important. And it's the first thing you bring to people who are at a feast. So I think a hint that I could give is that it's not food. It's not food. And I think the other thing that makes this tricky is the answer in Greek makes sense for something that is both the material it's made of and the product of the material. And I think this is also tricky. The starts off yellow has to do with the material that this is made from. And the second half, the second sentence, is about the product and your use of the product that comes from this material. I think that makes it pretty hard. But I hope that helps a little bit. It's not food, because it comes before the food. It starts off yellow, and you have to cut the yellow stuff in order to get the material, in order to make this thing that you then bring to people at a feast. And it enjoys a sweet and fishy bath. It's something you'd use to maybe soak up stuff. I think that's the biggest hint I can give. A napkin. Okay, yeah, that's basically as close to the answer as I think you can get. Yeah, so the answer is linen, specifically. That was my first guess, then I got in my head about starts off yellow. Yeah, so it's specifically, so the Greek answer to this is lina, which is actually the neuter plural of linon. Linon means flax, like flaxseed. But lina, as a plural, means a linen cloth. Like a linen cloth, something that is made out of flaxseed. So the first sort of sentence is about the process of cutting flax, and like cutting it, you turn it into linen. So like you clean it, you wash it, and it becomes white. And so you created linens. And linens are the first thing you bring to your guests, right? You bring them napkins, and it enjoys soaking up, I don't know, everything that people eat, right? They wipe their faces with it, so it's like sweet, fishy, whatever it happens to be that they're eating. We're in Greece, so fish would be a pretty common thing to eat. So yeah, it's a linen towel specifically. So napkin is correct, I would say. At least the ancient Greek equivalent of a napkin, which is usually a linen cloth. Excellent. So yeah, these, I should have warned, these riddles today, these two riddles are the harder ones compared to last week. The next one is probably the hardest one. So it's also shorter though, so that's nice. Let's read this one. I'll start with the Greek. Anthropou melos imi, oke temni me sidiros, grammatos eromenu, diete ielios. All right. Anthropou melos imi. Imi. I'll start there. Anthropou might actually be comprehensible to a modern English speaker. It's in the genitive, so it means of this word, but anthropos means human, person, and it's the root of words like anthropology, the study of people. So anthropos means person, anthropou of person. And then we have melos, and melos means a part or a limb, especially a body part, but it could just be any part of something, melos. And then we have imi, and imi means I am. So, I am a part of a human. Okay, straightforward enough. I'm a body part, cool. O que temni me sidiros. So, all here, this is actually, so it has a few different possible readings here. It could be the word the for a masculine singular nominative noun. And sidiros here is a masculine nominative singular noun, I believe. I don't think it's neuter. I think it's masculine. I may be mistaken here, though. But it could also, this could also be like which as a relative pronoun. I don't think it would be, because I don't think the which would be nominative here. I think it would be accusative. Because I think it's the object of this verb here. So, que here is and again. So, and, which and, or the, this thing, and temni, we've had this verb before actually in an earlier riddle, or at least a word related to it. Temni means cut, and it's in the third person singular, so something cuts. It cuts. And then me, it is identical to the English word me. It's the accusative of the first person pronouns. Me is me. So something cuts me. What's the something that cuts me? Sidiros. And sidiros, I think we had a word related to this too. Sidiros means iron. Iron. So I'm part of a person which iron cuts me. And which iron cuts me. It doesn't translate super well into English. We have to remember that they're trying to fit a certain shape and number of syllables in this this poetic form, so there might be some redundant words here. So I'm part of a human, an iron, which iron cuts me, and the iron cuts me. We could read it that way. The and cuts me iron. Word order is not super important in ancient Greek, especially when we're doing poetry like this. I'm part of a person, iron cuts me. This first sentence is about as straightforward for a modern English speaker as you're going to get for the answer of this riddle, because the next line is what makes this riddle very hard. It's going to be talking about the ancient Greek word that is the answer of this again. So this word here, grammatos, is the genitive singular of gramma. It's the origin of the word grammar or grammatical, and gramma means a letter. A gram, a letter. So of a letter is one interpretation of this. I'll talk about why it's genitive in a second because it's not quite of here. Letter. Then we have a participle here, eromenu. And this is the verb ero, which, erin, I think is, erin is the infinitive, I think. Ero is I. Basically means I remove, ero. This is being removed, also in the genitive, so it matches this. So a letter being removed, genitive. And one interpretation of a genitive participle like this, being removed, genitive, is that you're talking about time. So like, sorry, I just accidentally right-clicked. No, go away. So this could be like when a letter is removed is one way we can interpret this because they're in the genitive. Or while a letter is removed. Or because a letter is removed. It could also indicate cause. Because a letter is removed, then we have a verb, diete. Diete is a passive verb. Means is sunk. Diome is like to sink down. Diete is like it sinks. What sinks? Ielios. Ielios, in sort of more standard Greek, it's usually just Ilios. It means the sun. It's the origin of Helios, is just what we typically call the titan of the sun. Helium is the element. Means sun. Ielios. So the sun is sunk. It sinks. So because a letter is removed, or when a letter is removed, the sun goes down. So this riddle is a riddle and a pun, basically, in ancient Greek. It's not super fair if you don't know the Greek word. But it is a fun pun, which is why I wanted to share this one in spite of that. Now, the first line is, I guess, gettable. It's a part of your body that is, I will add, regularly cut with iron. You'll regularly cut it. And the word for it is one letter off of the sun going down. And I will give the additional hint that the sun going down indicates night. And so this word is one letter. It's basically the word for night with one additional letter, but the word for night in ancient Greek. Now the word for night in ancient Greek is, I'll type it out here. What can I type? Why isn't it letting me type? This is weird. Okay. Oh, it's just lagging very heavily. Okay. So the word for night is nix. Nix. It's nox in Latin, and we have a lot of derivatives of that. But in ancient Greek, it's nix. I think the only English word I can think of that comes from this. So the genitive is niktos. We tend to get our English words from the genitive form of Greek words a lot of the time. We have this root, I think, nikto. A nyctophiliac is someone who likes the darkness. And that comes from this word, nix is night in ancient Greek. Now, the letter that's being removed, I'll give the Greek answer. So if you know Greek, spoilers, you're about to get the answer to the riddle. It's, am I not? It's doing the thing where it's not typing the appropriate accents. Okay, now it's lagging. Okay, so it's an O. In ancient Greek, they didn't actually write accents, so the accent that was on nix being here does not matter. The sort of accent system was added during the Byzantine period, so this wouldn't have really applied to the riddle or changed anything at all. In any case, actually, I'll just write it in capitals in ancient Greek like you would say it. It would be like this, and then with it added, it would be like this. Here we go. So nix is night. Then we have onyx. And this is actually where we get the word onyx. Now, onyx is a stone. And The shape of the stone is, I guess, a hint to why we call it onyx. I'm going to see if I can find a good picture of onyx, because that might actually provide another hint for the answer of this riddle. We, in English, often tend to refer to just the color when we say the word onyx. But the reason we call the color onyx is because it's the color of the stone. And the reason the stone is called onyx, and was called onyx in ancient Greek as well, they called the stone this, is because of the shape it tends to have. And the shape it has is this body part that we frequently cut with iron. Now we can also, I think the other thing that helps is not to think of the color, but the shape is also sardonyx, which is usually red, is also the same shape because it's still an onyx. I'm going to open some images. I'm opening them in another window so that I can just make sure that I just have the image file. Makes it easier to drag over to this window that I'm sharing. So I'll bring an onyx and then a sardonyx. So here are some onyx stones. And here is sardonyx. Now looking at these, I want to see if the chat can figure out what body part that you regularly cut does this resemble. This stone. And this is why this stone is called this word for a body part in ancient Greek. Roughly this shape. Yeah, so it's the shape. Yeah, nails. Nails, it's the shape. Yeah, sorry. I should have, I think I said shape, but I might not have. Yeah, so it's nails. The answer is nails. Onyx in ancient Greek means nail. An onyx is a nail. And if you take off the O, if you remove one letter, I'll do it with these words. If we just have the word onyx, if you take off the O, one letter, it becomes the word night. So removing one letter, the sun goes down. So I am a part of a body of a person's, part of a person's body, and I'm cut by iron. Remove one letter, and the sun goes down. So it's a riddle and a pun in one. Yeah, so the answer is onyx, nail. All right, that's actually perfect timing. Great job. These were the harder riddles, and the chat got both of these riddles as well. So excellent job. These were the hard ones. And I guess we'll end there, since these are the two riddles I had prepared. Next week, we're going to be coming in with some Old Norse stuff. I think what we're going to look at is actually a rune stone, which will be a good lead up to what we'll do in 2 weeks, which is we'll start the Anglo-Saxon rune poem. I think that's what we're going to do after we do. We're going to look at a rune stone in Old Norse, really early Old Norse, maybe even Proto-Norse. I haven't decided on which rune stone. So that is the plan for next week. Old Norse runes, and then after that, the following week is the Old English rune poem, because that's the earliest rune poem that we have. And we might go into the other rune poems after that. So thank you for coming. Thank you for trying to solve these ancient Greek riddles. If people are interested in more ancient Greek stuff in the future, I'm actually very happy to return to this text. There are some math, like I said, these are interspersed between math problems. If anyone's interested, epic riddle moment. Yeah, it is in epic Greek. So yeah, they're epic riddles. I didn't read them in epic Greek, but that's what they're in. So they're math problems. So if people are interested in ancient Greek math, there's lots of ancient Greek math. I am not the person necessarily to ask for help with the ancient Greek math, but reading the word problems might be fun. I think it's the word problems that's going to be the fun part, because they have some like interesting examples of how they do word problems. not too different from how we do word problems nowadays, where we, this person needs this many things, and you have names, except the names are often references to Greek mythology, which is kind of fun. So we could return to those if people are interested, but that will probably be a long way in the future, because I definitely want to do the rune stuff first. That's sort of my priority. But we can definitely in the future return to do more ancient Greek. Some other ancient Greek stuff might be fun too. Read some other dialects in terms of pronunciation. Probably the hardest ancient Greek to pronounce might be the Aeolic Greek. So if you ever read any of Sappho's poetry, which is very difficult to read in ancient Greek, that would be really fun. I had to do that a lot in college. But in any case, thank you, and I hope you'll have a wonderful rest of your time zone. And I will see you next week at the same time. Goodbye.